Recording in progress.
Okay, good evening everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abam. This is the final shir of Tavshin Pei Daled. Haba Aleinu L'Toiva. Welcome everyone. The Shurman Sefer Devarim are generously sponsored by Dr. Zakheim and Mishpachta, Le'iloi Nishmas of Shem Eliezer ben Rabbi Yaakov Zakheim, whose yard site is coming up on the first night of Rosh Hashanah. All the shirim the whole year are Le'iloi Nishmasai. Somebody mentioned to me that when they go to Eretz Yisrael, they go to many Kivrei Tzadikim and the kever of Shloima Eliezer Zakheim, who put him on his feet, help him find a job, help him build a family, and he feels very indebted to. So it's a great honor that the Shurim are dedicated to Le'iloi Nishmasai. Tonight is also Le'iloi Nishmas Rivka Bat Tzvi Halevi and Rav David and Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi HaKoyin. Tonight's shir is sponsored by Rabbi Yaakov Mizrahi. Hashem should be mevarich in his own mishpacha, shafa bracha v'hatzlacha, shana tova u'masuka. Tonight's shir is also dedicated by Mr. Joseph Deutsch, Le'iloi Nishmas. His grandfather is Yosef ben Avigdar, Moshe ben Menachem, Began Eden Tehei Menuchasam. They should be Melitza Yisharim for their whole family. We thank the Rebbeinu Shalom we were able to get together this year for Limud HaTorah in good health. May the Rebbeinu Shalom bless all of us for another year, Be'ezus Hashem, of good learning and happiness. Okay, let us begin with a very perplexing comment of the Medrash. The Medrash tells us, it's a Medrash Pliya. Medrash Pliya is not as of ancient origin as the Midrashim. Whether it's actually authentic material of the Torah Sheba'al Peh, it's not like a regular Medrash, but what it is it's enigmatic ancient teachings, and you sort of have to decipher, okay, what exactly does it mean? It's like it's like a mystery, it's like a riddle. Medrash Pliya, it's not a real Medrash. It's not like Medrash Rabbah, Medrash Tanchuma. It's a riddle, and in the riddle is encapsulated a hidden message. So one of the first Medrash Pliyos says like this: Vayihi erev, vayihi voiker yom echad. And it was evening, and it was morning one day. Oh, one day, mikan she Rosh Hashanah shnei yamim. From here we learn Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. You like that riddle? That's the riddle. It says vayihi erev, vayihi voiker yom echad. Ah, from here we learn Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. Okay, well, so the Chida, in a number of his farm, my friend Shragi told me, we came together tonight. He said, Rabbi Glatstein, I think every time I heard you give shir, you always mention the Chida. Could be, right? But you don't have to go too far. Second Maramakam on the sheet. The Chida quotes this Medrash, and he says that this Medrash is discussed by the Karban Aron, and we don't even have to spell out any specific questions here. It's obvious. What in the world is this Medrash conveying? Vayihi era, vayihi voikar. Oh, 1 day. From here we learn Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. What's that supposed to mean? Another question is, why does Hashem judge us on Rosh Hashanah? It's the 7th month of the year. So why does He judge us on this day? Shouldn't He judge us on the first day of the first month? Why the first day of the 7th month? What is it about the upcoming Wednesday night, Thursday morning? What is it about this day? What is it about the first day of Tishrei that God judges us on this day? Why does He judge us? Is it something happened on that day that from now on God always judges the Jewish people? And actually, the Ran asked this question. The Ran in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, on Daf Tezayin B'Dafei Harif in the Oz V'Hadar edition, if you look at number 31 on the third line, V'yesh Lishal Lama Adam Nidan Rosh Hashanah Yoser Mi B'Shar Yamim. So you say, well, actually come to think of it, there are 3 other Rosh Hashanahs. God judges us for grain, and God judges us on fruits, and God judges us on water. Well, guess what? The reason why God judges us on grain on Pesach is because that's when it grows. And God judges us on Shavuos for fruits because that's when they grow. So it makes sense. God judges at the time that it's appropriate. When the entity comes to fruition, that is the time for its judgment. But what happens on the first day of the 7th month, randomly on the first day of the 7th month? Why does God judge us on this day? And the Ran says a principle that will be the foundation of tonight's shir. It's something we're all familiar with. We're going to say on Rosh Hashanah, Zikaron liyom rishain, that Rosh Hashanah is a remembrance for the first day. For the first day? How is Rosh Hashanah a remembrance for the first day? It's not the first day of creation. The first day of creation is Chav Hei Elul. What happened on Rosh Hashanah? God created Adam HaRishain. So how is Rosh Hashanah a remembrance for the first day? The answer is, when we say remembrance for the first day, it doesn't mean the first day of creation, it means the first day of man. Rosh Hashanah is a commemoration of the first day of man. Rabbi Eliezer says, B'tishrei nivra ha'olam. When Rabbi Eliezer says, B'tishrei nivra ha'olam, Be'echad b'tishrei nivra ha'olam, the word Bereshis are the letters, Be'echad b'tishrei. Yeah? It's not Be'echad b'tishrei nivra ha'olam, it's Be'echad b'tishrei nivra Adam. It's B'chaf Hei Elul nivra ha'olam. It's Be'echad b'tishrei nivra Adam. And the Psikta gives us an account, the Gemara in Sanhedrin also gives us an account. In the first hour of Rosh Hashanah, it entered God's mind to create Adam. In the second hour, he consulted with the angels. In the third hour, he gathered the dust. In the fourth hour, he kneaded the ground. In the fifth hour, he put the flesh on Adam. On the sixth hour, he made Adam a unformed entity. On the seventh hour, he put a neshama into him. In the eighth hour, he put Adam into Gan Eden. In the ninth hour, he said, Adam, do whatever you want. You could do whatever you want. You could talk by Chazar Sashatz. You could bring phones into the shul. You could do whatever you want. You could violate the cardinal sins. Just don't do one thing. Just don't eat from the Eitz Hadas. In the 10th hour, Adam ate from the Eitz Hadas. Can you imagine? God said, do whatever you want. You could eat treif. You could do anything. You don't have to eat gefilte fish. You don't have to eat matzah balls. You could even eat gebrakst. You could do whatever you want. Just don't eat from the Eitz Hadas. And within 60 minutes, he had consumed the Eitz Hadas. Can you imagine that? He could not resist 60 minutes. In the 11th hour, says the Medrash, he was judged. In the 12th hour, he was acquitted. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's today? Echad b'tishrei, zeh simin lebanecha. Just like you stood in judgment and you were acquitted, the Lashon of the Medrash, the Ran quotes, is v'yatzeis b'dimos, kach asidin banecha liyos oimdim lefanai b'din b'yom zeh. Your descendants will stand in judgment on this day, v'yotzin b'dimos, and they will be acquitted. Actually, I'm going to throw something out. It's going to like reconfigure your whole mind. But even now, when God gave the Torah originally, Rosh Hashanah was going to be in Tammuz. You know about this? We once discussed it on a Parsha Shlach by the Zman between Mincha Marav. Originally, Rosh Hashanah was going to be in Tammuz, Yom Kippur in Av, and Sukkot in Elul. But because of the Ched HaEgal, we lost Tammuz, Av, and Elul, and everything was shoved to Tishrei. So the Chida writes, it comes out good because anyway, predating the scheduled Rosh Hashanah and Tammuz, Adam was judged in Tishrei anyway, so that was the date of choice because it was already pre-designated. But it wasn't even given then. It was actually given in a different month and then switched. That's Stama, interesting Chida. So says the Ran, the reason why we're judged on Rosh Hashanah is because we need to have a day of judgment that has a precedent that for a good outcome for us. So we know, this is a good time to be judged. We had a good outcome the first time, and we're hoping for past performance being a bearing on future outcome. So the reason why Rosh Hashanah was selected for Echad B'Tishrei is because Adam was created on this day, he sinned on this day, he was judged on this day, and he was found innocent on this day.
Yet he was still kicked out of Gan Eden.
Even though, by the way, it wasn't like 100% acquittal. Because, in a way it was, because he was supposed to die. Originally he was supposed to live forever. God said you eat from the fruit, you die on that day. So God suspended his death for 930 years. So he got a pretty good outcome. I mean, that's as good as you're going to get. If you go to court, be happy with whatever. At 930 years later, I would say it's a pretty good outcome.
You're supposed to live longer.
He's supposed to live forever. He gave 70 to David HaMelech. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about another issue. This is one of my favorite topics. We're going to have a new spin on it. We know this week's parsha, Nitzavim, we say, Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kulachem. You stand today. We've spoken out in the past many, many times. There's a special name given to the Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah. Whenever Rosh Hashanah is referred to in the Chumash, it is always called Hayoim. Hayoim. Where? Take a look at number 4 in Eiv. Vayihi Hayoim. It was Hayoim. Vayavayu b'nei ha'Elohim l'hisyatziv Hashem. The angels were standing by God. Says Rashi, Vayihi Hayoim oiso yom shahaya Rosh Hashanah. The day that the angels tried to prosecute against Eiv, it was Rosh Hashanah. It was the New Year. And what is the New Year called? Hayoim. Or in Melachim. Vayihi Hayoim. It was the day. Vayavar Elisha al Shunem. Elisha came to the Shunem. The Zohar writes in 3 places. Kol makom shenemar vayihi hayoim da yoima de Rosh Hashanah. Therefore, what parsha do we read every single year before Rosh Hashanah? Without fail. It doesn't matter. Ibr year or not Ibr year. I don't care what kind of year it is. It's a lunar eclipse, a solar eclipse. I don't care what happened. Election day, not election day. This is one of the only parshas that will always come out at an exact time. There is no other parsha that has ever come out the week before Rosh Hashanah than Nitzavim. Why? What is Rosh Hashanah? Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kulchem. You stand Hayoim on Rosh Hashanah. All of you. Where do you stand? Lifnei Hashem Elokeichem. Before Hashem. Could you think of better words to describe the Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah than Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kulchem? Nobody gets out of it. You can't say, well, here's my card. I'm not participating in this one. Let me through. I'll do it a different day. The scheduling doesn't work out. Rosh Hashanah Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kulchem Lifnei Hashem Elokeichem. Says the Pardes Yosef, based on the idea that Rosh Hashanah is always called Hayoim. In fact, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld pointed out, there's a pasuk in Tehillim, in Parak Kuf Yotes, Lemishpatecha amdu Hayoim ki hakoil avadecha. Translate the words, in judgment they stand on the day because they're all your servants. What day does that describe to you? When King David says, in judgment they stand today because everyone is your servant, what day does that describe? Rosh Hashanah? The gematria of that whole pasuk is 861, Rosh Hashanah. The gematria of the entire pasuk, 861, Rosh Hashanah. By the way, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld writes that if you take the Kriyas HaTorah the first day of Rosh Hashanah and the Kriyas HaTorah the second day of Rosh Hashanah, and you add up all the words, there are 861 words. Gematria, Rosh Hashanah. Sometimes you wonder, there's Utz B'choiroi, there's Buz Achiv, there's Kemuel. What are these guys doing in the laning? How'd they get in? 861 words. What's the last word of the laning? There's Ma'acha, Melech al Kol Ha'aretz. So again, we see L'mishpatecha amdu hayom. It's a reference to Rosh Hashanah, or Hayom harasa ilam hayom yamid b'mishpat. Hayom is the birthday of the world. Why was this day so? Why is Rosh Hashanah called Hayom? Over the years, we've said many perushim. Fasten your seatbelts. Now, there are a lot of things we eat on Rosh Hashanah. Ira, what do you like to eat at your Rosh Hashanah table? What's your favorite simon?
Probably the pomegranates.
Pomegranates. Very good answer. Okay. Good answer. We eat a lot of things. Pomegranates. Meron. Yossi, what's your favorite item at the Rosh Hashanah Suda?
Same as the rubs.
Okay, we both like the ram's head, right? the sheep's head. Sheep's head, you have meron, you have apples, You have a lot of different things that you eat. But you know one thing you're not allowed to eat, besides nuts. Okay, I'm not going there tonight. We're not talking about the nuts. The Gra says, don't eat grapes on Rosh Hashanah. Don't eat grapes. And I know you're getting very nervous now. Don't eat grapes on Rosh Hashanah. Why? V'hatam al pisaid. It's Kabbalistic reason. So, that's got to pique your curiosity. What exactly is this secret reason why not to eat grapes? So, the Gra writes on the Ma'aser Rav. So, the Imrei Shmuel is a parish on the Ma'aser Rav. He says that it could be the reason is that according to the Zohar, the fruit that Adam HaRishon ate was a grape. It's Rosh Hashanah today. We're being judged because Adam was judged and he was acquitted. But he also sinned on this day. So you don't want to be eating grapes on this. This is not the day to eat grapes. So a lot of people have a minhag to eat raisins and celery, right? They make up some kind of ridiculous simon. I'm not sure you want to eat raisins. You want to raise, but the raisin, comes from a grape. I'm not sure if a shriveled out Eitz Hadas is going to be, how that's going to work out. Now, the thing is, a wine you can have. Thing is, there are other opinions what the Eitz Hadas is. There's an opinion it was a fig. Nobody ever said don't eat figs. There was an opinion it was grain. Nobody ever said don't eat grain. There's an opinion it's an esrog. Anyway, at this time of the year, esrogim are a fortune. Nobody's buying an esrog, But it's interesting, of all the opinions that we avoid on the day of the first day of creation, it's the grape. But again, maybe because this is the opinion of the Zohar HaKadosh, so therefore this is the food that we avoid. So it's interesting. The whole setup. What?
Did you answer the first question?
I don't know.
How do we know?
No. Let me tell you something about how the shir works. Okay? If I have a question at the beginning of the shir, in all likelihood, I'm not going to answer until the end of the shir. That's just like general rules of the shir. Because if I answer at the beginning of the shir, then you tune out. So I ask the question, then I hold you in suspense on the edge of your chair until the end of the shir. That's like the general mahalach, In general, you should, it's kedai, when you set up, you never answer the original question until the end. Okay. It's all a build-up, Okay. So we see that there are a number of things we do. Not only are we judged on Rosh Hashanah to commemorate the fact that on this day, Adam Rishon sinned and was judged, but we also avoid the fruit that Adam Rishon ate. Rabbi Yeshua lo Mikutna. You ever hear Rabbi Yeshua lo Mikutna? Rabbi Yeshua lo Mikutna is one of the all-time sharpest Gaonim in Poland. Talking at the end of the 19th century. My great-great-grandfather was a student of Rabbi Yeshua lo Mikutna. He helped publish Yeshua's Malkai. This Lag BaOmer, I was in Poland, and I went to the city of Kutna, and I was looking for the kever of Rabbi Yeshua lo Mikutna, and it's just a big field. There's no kever there, and if anybody wants to do. There are ways to find where he was buried and to make a monument. If anybody wants to get involved in that, let me know. Rabbi Yeshua lo Mikutna has an amazing idea. Yeshua lo Mikutna says, where does the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shofar come from? Is the mitzvah to blow the shofar, or is the mitzvah to hear the shofar? The Rambam writes in about 8 places, the mitzvah is to hear the shofar. What's halacha if you steal tefillin and you put it on? You're yotzei? No. What's halacha if you steal chevtza shel mitzvah and you use it? You're not yotzei. If you steal a shofar and you blow it, are you yotzei? Avada. Because there's no mitzvah to blow a shofar. The shofar is not a chefetza shel mitzvah. The shofar is the instrument that produces the sound. The mitzvah is to listen, the mitzvah is not to blow. So why do you think we have a mitzvah to hear the shofar on Rosh Hashanah? Okay, this is not a politically correct idea. What are we going to do,
Why isn't it considered mitzvah b'mei avera if you steal a shofar?
Because the mitzvah is not blowing it.
But it's still b'mei avera.
If you steal a hammer and you build a sukkah, it's not a mitzvah b'avera. Because the hammer is just a tool with which you built the sukkah. The shofar is just a tool that produces the sound. The mitzvah is to hear the sound. The mitzvah is not to blow. Says the Yeshua's Makkah, what was the sin of Adam Rishon? That he ate from the tree? What do you mean his wife told him to do it? The sin was he listened to his wife. So he sinned by listening. So to rectify the sin of using his ears sinfully, we have to listen to the shofar. I don't comment on that. I'm just telling you what Rishul Mikutna says. He says, by the way, look what he says. V'lazehi mitzvos tkiyas shofar Rosh Hashanah ki pagam b'shmiya ki shamata l'koil l'shtecha. You know the lashon of the Medrash is he said no. His chila miyaleles olav b'koila u'v'shofar yelule yolel. The Medrash says it's like she hollered and yelled and cried like a shofar. Don't listen to the wrong shofar. Don't listen to the wrong shofar. I can't come to the shir. Why? My wife doesn't let. No. You haven't listened. You didn't listen to the other things she said. All of a sudden, you listen to your wife now. All of a sudden, now all of a sudden you listen to your wife. There's another interesting thing. You know, most people today's generation, what do they eat for snacks? Junk. They eat polysaturated potatoes soaked in oil, gushers. What in the world is that? Right? It's sugar cooked in sugar, boiled in sugar, and then fried in sugar. They don't even know what fruits are. Once a year, everybody eats fruits, right? When? The night of Rosh Hashanah. Everyone's eating fruits. People go to the store. They don't even know what the fruits are. Should I make a shechianu? Pal, you haven't eaten a pear the whole year. You didn't even eat a tangerine, orange. You can make a shechianu on anything they put on your table. You wouldn't even know what a fruit is. Why are we eating so many fruits the night of Rosh Hashanah? This is just original idea. You know, the Kahal Kadosh says, before Hashem told Adam Arishain, Ume'etz hadas toy vara lo yisoichal mimenu, and from the tree of knowledge, good and bad, don't eat from it, God introduced it. Vayitzav Hashem Elokim ala Adam lemor, Mikoil eitz hagan ochel toichel, eat all the fruits, but don't eat that fruit. Hashem didn't tell Adam, don't eat that fruit. He said, eat all the fruits, don't eat that fruit. Says the Shla, eat all the fruits was a mitzvah saseh. Don't eat that fruit was a lav. So maybe the reason why we eat so many fruits the night of Rosh Hashanah is we don't eat grapes because we don't want to eat the Eitz Hadas, but we eat other fruits because we're sort of commemorating on this day God gave Adam the mitzvah of eating fruits. So in the Holy Sefer Shvilei Pinchas, or Pinchas Friedman, he advances a wondrous idea. Now I'm going to introduce this as follows. I sent the Shvilei Pinchas an email this week, and I knew he was going to call me because I knew this was not an email response. So I found this so I'm working on this idea this year, Davar Yafa Be'itai. Yeah, you heard about this? Connecting every parsha to the Zman of the year. We talk every Friday night in Shul, connecting every parsha to the Zman of the year. Baruch Hashem, we're up to Nitzavim. It's a big, Hashem gave me a good idea what to do next year. Also a new, interesting thing. I saw in Reb Pinchas Karatzer something I wanted to use. Why you notice the parshiyos closest to Rosh Hashanah are the shortest parshiyos of the year. Baruch Hashem. You know, because I have things I need to catch up in learning before Rosh Hashanah. I have a lot of things. And it works out. Put it this way, it works out for me. Nitzavim, Vayelech, Chazinu. It's good. You know, man, if this was Nasai or Kisa, it works out very good. Now, I think part of it, you know, they asked the Chida in the Berkei Yosef, it's Slichos time. Someone who's a big lamdan, should they say, well, you know, you could go to a 20-minute Slichos, a 40-minute Slichos. Let's say you could be learning. What's more important? More slichos or more learning? You know, where should I cut the corner? Should I give up on my learning? Or should I give up on the slichos? Like, what's more important? You would have thought learning is more important. Learning is a bigger mitzvah. Chida said no. Chida writes, during the Zman Slichos, it's worthwhile to give up a little bit of your learning to say slichos. Now, you see, the point of slichas is to wake up earlier. If you usually wake up at 6:30, slichas, I'll go to a later minyan, that's sort of like defeats. So you gotta sweat it a little. You lose a little bit of sleep these days. But the Chida paskins that slichos could come even at the expense of a little learning. So I would suggest a remes to this is during the weeks, Atem Nitzavim Hayom is Gematria La'amoid L'Slichos. Atem Nitzavim, the Kadmonim bring. The week of Slichos is Atem Nitzavim, to get up for Slichos. You think it's a coincidence? The week of Slichos, we have less Torah. Hashem's saying, look, these weeks, the Avodah is the Slichos, not you minimize the learning a little bit. But Reb Pinchas Karitzer, he said this idea, Kabbalistic idea. I didn't understand what it meant. He said something that sounds like during this time of the year, Hashem goes to sleep, and that's reflected by short parshios. I'm afraid even to say that. So I sent to the Shvilei Pinchas, what does this mean? It's a term, tarmitin, that Hashem, so to speak, is like resting, so there's less Torah. So he called me, and he said, he started to write the email, but it was too complicated. So he said, it means like this. When we need to wake up on Rosh Hashanah, we got to wake up. The purpose of the shofar is to wake up. And in order for us to wake up, we have to realize, look what we did. Why Hashem seems to be, so to speak, not being alert to our plight. Hashem seems to be, like Haman said about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Haman tells Achashverosh, don't worry, we'll be successful. God is sleeping, right? The Gemara Megillah says that Haman told Achashverosh, don't worry, the God of the Jews is sleeping. So if we were to acutely be aware that God is sleeping, we would say, he's sleeping because we're asleep, we got to get up. So God, so to speak, during this time of the year, wants us to feel how critical it is that we get up. So he shows us that we're really asleep by him, so to speak, going to sleep. And where do we see he's going to sleep? Because he's giving us less Torah. The parshios are smaller, as if Hashem is like, he's laying lower, and that's reflective of the fact because we're half asleep. And when we realize that, we say, look what we've caused God to do. No, uru yishena mishinaschem. That's the reason why the parshios now are smaller. Understand that? It's a deep concept. He told me some other things. Okay, you understand the idea? The idea is we need to wake up. And when do we really wake up? When we think that because we're asleep, we've, so to speak, God only goes to sleep if it's a reflection of us. So God shows himself as if he's asleep to show us how sleepy we are so that we should wake up on Rosh Hashanah. By the way, there's a hanhaga that God turns his back to us. V'anochi hastar aser panai bayemahu. It's called achar ba'achar. Ach ba'ach. Achar ba'achar. But an amazing thing happens when God turns his back to us. See, when God is facing us and we're facing him, we're independent of him. He has a backbone and we have a backbone. Now, it's a little bit dangerous because we could run off, but God will only face us if he trusts us. But when we turn our back on God, he turns his back on us. And when that happens, there's only one backbone between the two of us, and we're stuck to him. So very often, by us turning our back on God and him turning his back on us, he then injects us with greater kedusha. Hester panim will cause a higher repercussion of ruchnius, even more than face-to-face. Think about what happened in the last century after the Holocaust. Okay? We'll leave it at that. Anyway, so I'm just giving you an introduction because what I'm about to tell you comes from the Shvilei Pinchas.
Can a Baltakei make a bracha on the Shofar?
Yes.
By he says Litkaya Shofar.
Did you steal a shofar or something?
I just can't understand that.
Yeah, he could. A shofar is not.
He says Litkaya Shofar.
No, he doesn't.
Just to blow, not to listen. So how could he use it?
Asher kiddushanu mitzvaysav v'tzivanu lishmaya kaya shofar. He doesn't say litkaya. Rabbeinu Tam says litkaya, but we follow the Rambam lishmaya.
So he can use it. So
The Baal Tekeah could use a stolen shofar. Your mother-in-law could use a stolen shofar. Your sister-in-law could use a shofar.
Listen to a guy blow?
No.
Why not?
It's a good kasha. I'll give you a share on that. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. Because could a guy build your sukkah? Yeah. It's only a chumrah that he can't. Me'ikar then he can. So if a guy could build your sukkah, because the mitzvah is not to build it to sit in it, why can't a guy blow the shofar? It's a big kasha. Reb Chaim Brisker talks about it. Yeah.
You've only got one.
All right.
You've only got one good.
Okay. Let's move on. Says the Shvilei Pinchas, quoting the Tosfos Chaim, Reb Chaim Yosef, the Av Bezin of Paston. He says when Adam Harishon ate from the Eitz Hadas, he was poigim in the names of Hashem. He was poigim in the names of Hashem. By the way, there's another Arizal. The Arizal says that when Adam Harishon ate from the Eitz Hadas, he was poigim in the Shem Shakai. He took the Daled out of Shakai, and he took the Daled out of Aleph Daled Nun Yud. And when you come to the Beis Medrash in the morning and you go to the Deles of the Beis HaKnesses in the morning and you go to the Deles of the Beis HaKnesses in the evening, you put back the two Daleds. That's what the Nachash says. HaNachash Hishiani. Hishiani is the most bizarre word you'll ever encounter. Hishiani. Hishiani is Shakai without a Daled and Aleph Daled Nun Yud without a Daled. Hishiani is a combination of those two Shemos without the two Daleds. But now we're talking about two other Shemos. The Nachash caused Adam Rishon to be poigim in the Shem Havaya, and the Vav K of Havaya dislodged. It became Yud K, and the Vav K dislodged. And in the Shem Elokim, instead of Elokim, it became Elah, and Yud Mem, the Yud Mem dislodged. You got that? The Yud K, Vav K, the last two letters dislodged. Elokim, the last two letters dislodged. So that means the Shem Havaya was Nifgam and the Shem Elokim was Nifgam. Says the Holy Rebbe of Skolia. You ready for this? The Holy Rebbe of Skolia says, when Adam made from the Eitz Hadas, look at number 17, Vayishma'u es koil Hashem Elokim. They heard the voice of Hashem Elokim. The Hashem was screaming, what do you do to me? The Elokim was screaming, what do you do to me? You know what I'm missing now? Mishalech bagan leruach hayoim. I'm missing the letters hayoim. I'm missing the vav and the hey, and I'm missing the yud and the mem. Vav, hey, and yud mem spell hayoim. Hayoim are the four letters that Adam was nifgam in the two shemos of Hashem. This is what it means. Vayishmu, Adam heard, as koil Hashem Elokim, the voice, the cry of the Shem Havaya, of the Shem Elokim, mishalech leruach hayoim, and Adam had to hide, mipnei Hashem Elokim. Look what he did. He destroyed the Vav K, he destroyed the Yud Mem. So what do we need to do on Rosh Hashanah? We got to do some fixing. We got to restore the letters Vav K Yud Mem. What is Rosh Hashanah called? Hayoim. The word Hayoim spells out the four letters that Adam was nifgam from the two shemos of Hashem. So you know, Chazal say that at Kabbalas HaTorah, Vayihi koil hashofar hoylech v'chazak ma'od. The sound of the shofar was very strong. What sound did they hear at Kabbalas HaTorah? A tekiah. So where does Trua and Shvarim come from? Trua, the Shvilei Pinchas says, Teira Vav K. They harmed the Vav K. Shvarim, Shever, Yud Mem. They broke the Yud Mem. Shvarim, Shever, Yud Mem. They broke the Yud Mem. Trua, Teira, Vav K. They harmed the Vav K. The job of Rosh Hashanah is to restore the 4 letters of Hayom. Were these 4 letters ever restored? You know, the Arizal writes in the Siddur Ha'ari that not until the Akedah did these 4 letters make a comeback. The Ari says, look at number 24, that the reason why at the Akedah it says, Vayikra Avraham Shem HaMakoim Hahu Hashem Yireh Asher Yeyamer Hayom. Now we could say Hayom came back. The Vav and the K came back. The Yud and the Mem came back. And when we're finished davening on Rosh Hashanah, and we blew all the tkiyos, and all the shvarims, and all the truais, you know what we emphasize? Hayoim ta'ametzenu, Hayoim tivarachenu, Hayoim, we brought back all the missing letters of the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we were able to restore the Shem Havaya to its glory, we were able to restore the Shem Elohim to its glory. The Gemara in Beis says something very interesting. Okay, I might have to burst some bubbles now, but you've probably heard this before. The second night of Rosh Hashanah, people get very confused. It's a very confusing night. Right? Because, you know, the first night, you don't have to make any shachianos. Right, what do people ask the first night? Can I put pistachios on my fish? And do I have to make a shachiano? And the answer is, yeah, you can put pistachios on your fish, but you do not make a shachiano the first night. On a fruit, you make it in Kiddush. You don't have to make a shachiano on a fruit. You don't need a new fruit the first night of Rosh Hashanah. Do you need a new fruit the second night? You don't need one. It's good to have one. You don't have to have one. You're still Jewish, even if you don't have a shachianu fruit the second night. Is it a halacha? It's not a halacha. Is it better to? It's better to. It's only taiv. Why? Because really, you can make a shachianu the second night of Rosh Hashanah like every other 2-day Yom Tif. But there's an idea that Rosh Hashanah is Yom Arichta. It's one long day. Now the truth is, regarding shachianu, it's not one long day. It's 2 days. It's only one long day that if an egg is born on the first day, you don't eat it the second day. That's the only thing it's one long day for. So if you have a lot of chickens living in your house, this is a very relevant halacha. I'm not going to ask any personal questions, but if you have chickens in your house, even stolen chickens, you can't eat it the second day. You could blow a stolen shofar, but a chicken, the egg that's born on the first day, you can't have on the second day. On a regular 2-day Yom Tov, you could, mimanav shach. If the first day is Yom Tov, second day is not Yom Tov. If the first day is not Yom Tov, it wasn't born on Yom Tov. But on Rosh Hashanah, it's Yom Arichta. What is the concept that Rosh Hashanah is Yom Arichta? So many years ago we said, because
Judged on both days?
Because the 10 days of Aser Simei Tshuva are Keneged the Aser Sadibros. And Anoichi v'lo yiyeh b'diborecha nemru. They were said in one breath. So it's like one day. That's Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz. But you want to hear another Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, so that's what I'm here for. The Chida quotes this Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz.
Are we judged on both days?
I'm not telling you yet. Okay, I'll tell you. No, you're not judged on both days, really. Some people are judged on the first day, some people are judged on the second day. The first day is a more harsh judgment. The second day is a more tempered judgment. How do you know when you're judged? When you are aroused to cry, that's the moment you're judged. That's what that result says. So you think that's good, because if I don't cry, maybe I'm never judged. Everybody cries, and if you don't cry, tears b'mistarim tifka nafshay. That's what that Arizal says. There's Dina Kashya, which is the first day. That's the day that we read about the birth of Yitzchak, Midas Hadin, and the second day is Dina Rafia, tempered judgment, and we read about Akedas Yitzchak. What do we know about the first Rosh Hashanah in history? Well, God created the light, and Vayi Erev, Vayi Vaikar. There was evening and there was morning. But on the 6th day of creation, on that Friday, when Shabbos began, the sun did not set. So there were 36 consecutive hours of night. The Medrash says that on the first Friday of creation, when that first Shabbos came, Loi Shaka Oira, that special primordial light did not set. So there were 36 consecutive hours of day. And therefore, says Rabbi Daniel, the reason why the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are considered one long day, because what is Rosh Hashanah? It's a reenactment, like the Ran says, of the original Rosh Hashanah in history, where Adam Rishon sinned, and he was tried, and he was acquitted, so we reenact that. We eat a lot of fruits, we don't eat grapes, we try to rectify the missing letters of the Shem Havaya and the Shem Elohim, and also we legislate that Rosh Hashanah is parallel to that very first Rosh Hashanah in history, when there was no sunset. So the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are considered Yoima Arichta, one very long day. In fact, the Chidah has an incredible remez, and you're going to say, I cannot believe I never thought of this. What does it say? Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker Yoim Echad, Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker Yoim Sheni. Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker Yom Shelishi, Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker Yom Revi, Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker Yom Chamishi. And by Shabbos, it doesn't say Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker. Did you ever notice that? Did you ever notice it doesn't say and it was evening and it was morning by Shabbos? It says Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker Yom Hashishi. It never says Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker Yom HaShabbos. You know why? Because Shabbos there was no Erev. How many times did you learn Bereshis? Did you ever notice that? Why doesn't it say, and it was evening and it was morning on Shabbos? Because it wasn't. It was 36 consecutive hours of day. And therefore Rosh Hashanah is parallel and legislated and patterned after the very first Rosh Hashanah in history. Says the Chidah, we've now unlocked the secret of the Medrash Pliya of how we started the Shir. The first question. The Shir began, Medrash Pliya, Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker, Yom Echad. There's a raya that Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. Frak the Chidah, because it says Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker, Yom Echad, that's a raya Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. It's like this. It says on the first day, Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker. It says on the second day, Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker. It says on the third day, Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker. But it doesn't say on Shabbos, Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker. Why? Because Friday and Shabbos were Kiyoima Arichta. So therefore, Rosh Hashanah, we take 2 days and we deem it one long day. Rosh Hashanah is 2 days because it doesn't say Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Voiker on Shabbos. What's significant about the fact that it doesn't say it on Shabbos? Because it says it on day one and it says it by all the days of creation. So the fact it says it by all the days and it doesn't say it by Shabbos, that's because we now make Rosh Hashanah, we take 2 of the days and it's deemed Yoima Arichta, one long day. But one more thing.
What does it say by Shvi? Just Vayichulu?
Vayichulu.
That's it.
That's it. This is something we once spoke at many years ago, but it will take on a different meaning in this context. The pasuk says, and the Baal Toikea, any Balei Toikea? Ashrei ha'am yohidei sirua Hashem yarpanecha yehalechon. Ashrei ha'am, not Toikei trua, not Shoimei trua, yoidei trua. To know the shofar. What exactly do you need to know? What happens when we blow shofar? On Monday we had a shir. I recommend listening to the shir again before Rosh Hashanah. If you're interested, I'll send you a link. A very powerful Ramchal. And the basic idea is the role of a shofar is there are 2 historic blowings of the shofar in our history. One was the blowing of the shofar on Kabbalas HaTorah. One is the blowing of the shofar L'Asad Lavai. The shofar magnifies the forces of good and destroys the forces of evil. The original blast of the shofar at Matan Torah did it, but not completely, and the Tekah b'Shofar Gadol will completely destroy the forces of evil. The bridge between these two shofaros is Tkiyah Shofar every year on Rosh Hashanah. It magnifies the Tkiyah Shofar of Kabbalas HaTorah. That's why we invoke Tkiyah Shofar of Kabbalas HaTorah and Musaf. And we also talk about the Tkiyah Shofar L'Asad Lavai. What happens when we blow the shofar? The Zohar HaKadosh teaches there's an olam, there's a world, it's called the world shofar. The olam called shofar is olam hatshuva, is the world of tshuva. In this world, it's the only place on earth that the sin of Adam HaRishon did not downgrade. You see, when Adam HaRishon sinned, he ruined everything. People don't live forever. People don't live long. People have to go to work. There's illness. There's suffering. The whole world was, downgraded. The whole world was niskalka, was ruined. He ruined man. He ruined creation. He ruined the bria. He even ruined mitzvahs. He ruined mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are not as powerful as they once were. There's an idea, there's only one mitzvah that was unaffected by Adam Rishon's sin, kibbud av va'em, because he didn't have a father and mother, so he couldn't ruin that mitzvah. That's why when Yaakov Avinu goes in to serve his father, so Yitzchak smells Gan Eden, because kibbud av va'em smells like Gan Eden before the sin. There's one realm in this world that is unhampered, not ruined by the sin of Adam Rishon. That's the world of the shofar, which is the world of tshuva. When we blow the shofar, we are transported to a realm that transcends the sin of Adam Rishon, and it brings us back to Gan Eden Mikadem.
Did Adam HaRishon do tshuva?
Adam Rishon did tshuva.
How did we see that?
He said, Mizmar Shir Li Yom HaShabbos. Adam Rishon did tshuva. He met Cain. Yeah, Adam HaRishon did tshuva. We'll say it, and you'll see it in the Slichos coming up. It talks about the tshuva of Adam HaRishon. The blowing of the shofar transports us to the realm of the world of the shofar, which is the world of tshuva, which transcends the sin of Adam HaRishon. So basically, on this day of Rosh Hashanah, we don't eat the grapes, we eat the fruits, we're masakein our listening, we rectify hayom, and the mitzvah of shofar brings us back to the way the world was on that original day, on the sixth day of creation, on the first day of Tishrei. When we blow that shofar, it's literally restarting the clock, taking us back to the first Aleph Tishrei in the history of the world. So you say, what is it about the shofar that brings us back to that pre-sin, the primordial era, before Adam HaRishon sinned? And I think the explanation is as follows. For how long did Adam HaRishon exist in Gan Eden Mikadem? Like an hour, right? The Ran said that in the ninth hour he was commanded not to sin, and then in the 10th hour he sinned. He wasn't there long. But he did exist in a state of unaffected by any sin. What did God do to him that he was on such a high level? Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chaim. He blew into his nostril a soul of life. He blew. The Rabbi Yonasan Eibishter says the shofar is reminiscent of a nose. I guess some people have longer shofaros than other, but the shofar is reminiscent of a nose. And the blowing of the shofar is a reenactment of Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chaim. God blowing into Adam his soul of life. And at that moment, Adam HaRishon was pristine without any sin. So when we blow that shofar, we're transported to a realm unaffected that transcends the sin of Adam HaRishon, because literally what's happening is we're reenacting another thing that happened on the first day of creation. Yeah, we don't eat the grapes, we eat the fruits, we rectify Hayom, but we're being transported to a time before the sin. How? The blowing of the shofar brings us back to the moment of Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim. Actually, the Avnei Nezer writes, Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim, he quotes the Zohar, that when God blew the neshama into us, the Zohar says, Kebal toikeah. So at that moment of the blowing of the shofar, we're going back in time to a time before the sin of Adam HaRishon. So you better not eat those grapes, right? And we, at least for a short amount of time, are able to access that world of pre-Chet Adam HaRishon. And this idea is alluded to in many of the practices that we have on Rosh Hashanah, whether it's the fact that Rosh Hashanah is Kiyom Arichta, it reminds us of that very long day that the sun never set. We don't eat the grapes, we eat the fruits, we rectify the letters Vav K of the Shem Havaya, Yud Mem of the Shem Elokim. By listening to the shofar, we rectify the Kayach Hashmiya, and by blowing the shofar, we're transported back to a time before the sin of Adam HaRishon, Began Eden Mikedem. So we should all be zoicha to have the privilege to be transported back to that realm of before the world was created, really. As tshuva is one of the 7 things that was created before Hashem created the world. And I offer you my humble blessings. Lishnas Chayim V'Shalom Shana Tova Masuka. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. May the Rebbe Shem give us Siyata D'Shmaya. Bez Hashem, we hope for another year. Gesundheit. Thank you very much. Ksivach Sima Tova. Kol Tov.
Marav, do you have enough people? Who didn't have Marav yet?